Hi, good evening. My name is Doug, and I host a website called forextradeplans.com. And this presentation this evening is to introduce you to to something that I just created. I'm very excited about, and I'm very proud of this little creation I've made. I think it's going to be a very, very powerful tool for trading, at least in my trading. By the way, just want to let you all know I've been trading for about 5 years now, and I consider myself a professional trader and technical analyst. But I am not a professional speaker, so please bear with me. I'm not really used to speaking to the public or giving lectures or making videos. This is totally unrehearsed and impromptu. I've been meaning to make this video, and I finally found, during the course of the week, very busy with it's summertime. My kids are home from school, and this evening was a nice quiet time. My wife was out at the mall with the kids, and it was a good time for me to create this video. Anyway, to really understand the logic behind this is you need to understand how I like to trade. You have different types of indicators. You have what we call lagging indicators and leading indicators. Lagging indicators are indicators like oscillators such as MACD and stochastics, moving averages, because they tell you what really has already happened, not what's going to happen. I do trade with moving averages, by the way, but I don't really I use those more for trend follow as a trend following indicator. That's not really the purpose of this video, so I'm not going to really discuss moving averages. I'm only going to talk about three types of indicators that I highly believe in because they're leading indicators, and that is pivot points, Fibots, and for those of you that don't know what Fibots are, I'm going to explain them to you in a few minutes, and Fibonacci. I'm very religious to Fibonacci retracements and extensions. I couldn't trade without them, and I can't trade without pivot points. But unlike a lot of traders, I take pivot points to the next level. Now, what you're looking at right now on the screen is the chart that I designed. First of all, this chart, only does, the purpose of this chart is not to put in any type of information. It's a read-only chart. So I'm not entering any information on any of these tables. These are all being populated from these over here. As you can see here, I have a tab. This is 15-minute, PVP 15-minute. That stands for pivot point 15-minute. Got here hourly, 4-hour, daily, weekly, and monthly. The most common pivot points that people use are the monthly, weekly, and daily. Daily, of course, being the most popular. I take it to the next step, though. I'm using 4 hours and 1 hour and even 15-minute. But I'm not really using the 4-hour, hourly, and the 15-minute the same way I'm using the daily. Okay, I just use it to kind of like hone in, zero in on my target. But for right now, let's talk about the monthly, the weekly, and the daily. As you can see here, there's a lot of information here. You got the pair, the open, high, low, and close, also referred to as the OHLC. Here is the levels, the central pivot point, the S1, S2, S3, and the range, and R1, R2, R3, and here you get your M0 through M5. This particular part of the spreadsheet, this is where I input the data, but I'm not really reading this. I'm not paying attention to this. I'm just putting in the data. Everything that I really look at is here, 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 and here. I'm going to explain each of these sections one at a time throughout the course of this video. So anyway, let's start out for a minute with the monthly. This, of course, is only going to be done once a month, and it's a very simple thing to do. This looks like there's a lot of calculation done here, and there is, but I'm not doing the calculation. I already created the spreadsheet. The formulas are already entered into the spreadsheet. The only thing that I'm really entering is this data, the open, high, low, and close. Just as an FYI, the open really has nothing to do with the calculation of the pivot points. I just have it set up this way. First of all, the central pivot point is determined by taking the high, the low, and the close, adding them together, and dividing it by 3. That just gives you the central pivot point. okay, for that particular time frame. But most popular is they always display the open, high, low, and close. So I get this data by going here to the FXCM website, dailyfx.com/technical analysis/pivot points. And as you can see here, I don't really use their pivot points because my pivot points are calculated the same way theirs is. I do like the FXCM's Daily FX section. Their pivot points are based on 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. New York time, and I find that those are the most reliable pivot points. So they're open, high, low, and close is based on from 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. So if I click here, monthly, you see here, this is last updated July 1st at 21:52 GMT. Now, as you can see, here is the OHLC. Once again, the open, high, low, and close for each of these pairs. Now, I already have this all entered into my into my spreadsheet. See here, the open was 1.4395. The high was 1.4695. Low is 4072 and 4501. And if you take a look here at the web page, you'll see that that's the same. See? It's all the same. Okay. That's already been entered. I've also already entered in, obviously, the weekly. Right here to the weekly. By the way, they have a very busy website, and sometimes it takes a few seconds to get the data you want. You might have to refresh the page a couple times. So here's the weekly, here's the daily, and here's the hourly, which I already did. All of this is up to date. See, here's the daily, dated July 26 at 2200 GMT, which is really 1800 New York time, which is really 6 o'clock. So 6 p.m. New York time. This data is based not on today's though, yesterday's. Okay, daily candle. So here, see, daily. It's open at 43.75 yesterday, closed at 45.10. Okay, let's go here to the daily. 43.75 at open, closed at 45.10. Coincides with the FXCM website. Now, to do this, it's a real simple process. I just copy. I do this. I highlight it, and I go to copy. I actually usually press Control C. I do a copy, and I just want you to see how easy this is. And I go here, and I do paste. That's it. That's basically how I do it, and then I click Save, of course. And I do this for each one of these the same. Well, FXCM doesn't offer 15-minute OHLCs, and they don't offer a 4-hour. They do have, obviously you just saw the monthly, weekly, and daily, and they do the hourly. I never understood why they don't offer a 4-hour. So I actually emailed them several times already asking if they would post a 4-hour. It just doesn't make sense that they have the monthly, weekly, daily. They skip the 4-hour and go right to the hourly. If anything, I would have expected them to put the 4-hour and omitted the hourly. Of course, I'm glad they do have the hourly, but I really wish they would add a 4-hour, and hopefully, eventually, they'll pay attention to my emails and they'll add one. The 15-minute, of course, they probably won't do, but that doesn't matter. I can live without it. For the 15-minute, I do it manually. And it's good to know how to do this manually, because at times they're late putting out their information and updating their OHLC page. But when I want to do it manually, I just use the market scope charts that they offer. I set the euro-dollar. If I'm trading the euro-dollar and I want to do the 15-minute pivot points, I set it at 15 minutes. And I go here, File, Export to Excel, and actually I save it. I've already saved it, but I'm going to do it again. And then I go over to the place where I keep it, which is right here, euro-dollar 15-minute. click open. Now this right here is the current price data for the current candle that hasn't finished being printed yet. So I go to this one right here, and I do a copy. I'm going to do Control C, and then I come over here and to the euro dollar 15 minute, and I do Control V. Okay, and then I click Save. Anyway, that is how I put all this data in here. See, it's so simple. I'm basically just copying and pasting for the most part, and it's all being done at once, being calculated automatically, and the results of the calculations end up on this page right here. So now here we have the pivot point data. Oops, excuse me. Here we have the pivot point data for all the currency pairs. Now here I have the euro dollar, the euro yen, pound dollar, pound yen. These are really the ones that I trade the most. I keep them all together. And we have here the S1, S2, S3, R1, R2, R3, M0, M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, open, high, low, close, and the range. Pre-high and pre-low really means previous high and previous low. And I put the range right here in the center. I like doing it that way because the range is obviously the difference between the high and the low, so I keep it right in between. This is very useful information. Whenever you're looking at currency, you always want to know what the previous high and low is, and of course you want to know, it's good to know what the range was. So I know that in the last 15 minutes, or in the previous 15-minute candle, price only moved about 9 pips. And I know that in the previous 1-hour candle, price only moved about 10 pips. And in the previous 4-hour candle, 34 pips. And then yesterday, the market moved a total of 169 pips. So now, here we have the central pivot points, and we got all the, there are ones that, well, I already explained that to you. Now, in trading we like to look at confluence. In trading you want to overlap several areas of support and resistance with each other, okay? And we basically use the philosophy, enter a trade based on 5 or 6 reasons, or 4 or 5 different reasons to get you in. It only takes 1 or 2 reasons to get you out. So what I want to do, the first step I want to do is this. Let me explain, before I actually go to that step, I want to explain something else that works with this chart, and it's called Fibots. And I want to explain another thing to you I created called midvits. Midvits, it's the same as the pivots, except I did something else. I added something. I haven't really decided if this is effective or not. I just did it just to do it, and I'm testing it. But what I did here was this. If you look here at the daily, here we have two middle areas. This is the M2. This right here is the value between the M2 and the central pivot point, and here's the value between the central pivot point and the M3. And right here is the middle value between the S3 and the M0, the middle value between the M0 and the S2. I just really created this because I wanted to average out the numbers, and I thought maybe for accuracy, by actually figuring out what is the value between the S3 and the M0, which is 42.49, I might actually be able to hone in on a more accurate price level. I don't really want to confuse you with this chart right now, so I'm just going to go right back here to the pivots chart. Now, let me explain to you Fibots. For those of you, hopefully most of you know what Fibots are, but for those of you that don't, all a Fibot is the Fibonacci extension of the range. Let me show you on a chart. If I was to do a Fibonacci study, okay, switch to a 15-minute chart. If I was to do a Fibonacci study, oops, just so you could see this. Here you have your retracements, okay, but here you have your extensions, okay. A fibot is a fib of an entire period, from the high to the low of, say, the previous candle. But we don't use the Fibonacci retracements. We use the extensions. Fibots work in both directions. So generally, if we were going to say do a fibot of a daily candle, erase this for a minute. Switch over here to the daily chart. If I really wanted to do a fibot, figure out the fibot. By the way, this candle is today's daily candle. This is MT4, so this candle hasn't really finished printing yet. And like I said, all my analysis is really based on it's based on FXCM's price data, not the price data from MT4. And this is I think 4 hours later. Now, this will give me the Fibot extensions up on this candle now. And this would be my Fibonacci extensions down. So technically, these would be your Fibots. If you're using an indicator, these would be your Fibots. Anyway, I'm not going to, of course, I don't do it this way on the chart. It's too tedious. That's why I created the spreadsheet. It's all done, immediately. And by the way, I do have here an indicator in my MT4 for Fibots, but it's really never served me any good. But as you can see, these would be the Fibots, okay, of yesterday's, the previous day's price action. This is really ugly. I mean, who wants to even look at this? And it's not really going to do me a lot of good anyway. So I'm just going to remove this. I'm not going to even look at that again. I'm going to come back over here to the spreadsheet. So anyway, all this information is calculated automatically when I enter it over here in these other sheets that I showed you. So these right here are the Fibots for yesterday, for the daily. These are the Fibots based on yesterday's price action, yesterday's daily candle. Now, this is what I do. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go to do new window. I'm going to do here's I'm going to do view side by side. Whoops. Okay. Here's a side by side. Here we're going to look at the pivots, and here we're looking at the Fibots. So now look here. Let's just use the monthly for right now as an example, the monthly central pivot point. Let's look at the monthly Fibots. Now, here are your levels, your pivot levels for the monthly. So let's look at 4287. Is there anything here, any Fibot that's close to 4287? No. So let's do, by the way, this is pure technical analysis, okay? It does take a little time to do your technical analysis, but this is about the extent of the technical analysis you would have to do. 4150. Do I see any Fibots here anywhere near 4150? No. 3975. I got 3940, but that's not really, it's too far. So I'm going to ignore that one. I'm going to go to 3800. Well, you know, here I got 3834. That's still, you know, 34 pip difference, so I'm not going to worry about that. But here's 3664. Now here we got 3687. So I really think that 23 pips, yeah, that's pretty similar. That's pretty close. So I'm gonna do a bold. I'm gonna bold that. 3527. don't really have anything here that's close to 3527. So 3664, that's all I'm really going to concern myself with on the monthly, for a monthly pivot. Now, let's look at the other side here. Going towards, these are the support pivots, by the way, and these are the support Fibots. Now let's look at the, that's why we got here R121.4 for resistance, S121.4 for support, going all the way to the 261.8s. Now let's go here to 45.98. Anything here close to 45? Nope. Anything here close to 47.73? Nope. 49.10. Well, 49.93 is close. So Control B, I'll bold that. 50.46. 50.80, it's a little ways, so I'll ignore that. 52.21. Not really. 53.96. Nah, not really. So, but these are two levels right here that I would definitely want to keep my eye on. But price action right now isn't really anywhere near those levels, so we don't even have to really deal with that right now. But I'm just giving you an example. These would be, you know, two important levels. If price was in these areas, I would definitely expect some type of a reaction. By the way, let's real quickly look at the mid-bits. How's the look at, I'm just curious here, 43, 55, 18, 40, 63, 48, 41 here. This is a mid-bit, R1 between the R1 and the M4, 48, 41. So that's 13 pips difference from that. So I would definitely consider that. 49.78. No, nothing over here close to it. 51.33. No. 53.09. Well, here we got 53.18. So this also could be an important level. So here we got two very important levels to look at. But we're nowhere, once again, we're nowhere near these levels. But I'm just giving you an example on how you would actually do your analysis to find areas where there'd be a very big reaction. Let me check out the progress of this. I'm going to cut this video in just a few minutes, and then I'm going to create a part 2. I don't want the videos to go on each part to take too long. But now let's take a look real quickly at the daily. Let me go back to the pivots. Thank goodness for splits, for viewing side by side on a spreadsheet. It really adds a lot more effectiveness to this method of mine. And the daily pivot points now, here we got the 44.33. Do we have anything here that's close to 44? No. 44.02. Nothing. 43.49. Now, this is like 30 pips away, so I'm not going to even pay attention to that. 42.95. So here we got 42.91. So 42.95 to me would be important for today. Keep my eye on 42.95. Let's see, 42.64. Do we got anything here? Well, it's only 12 pips from 42.52. So definitely keep that in mind. In 42.33, I wouldn't really worry about that. Now let's look at here on this side, at the resistance side. 45.18. Nope, don't see anything here. 45.71. 45.90. Yeah, that's 19 pips difference, and this is a daily chart, so we could go ahead and do that. 46.02. 46.29. Nah,
But what we will do is we'll go 46.33, and here you got 46.29. That's a 4 pip difference, so do Control B for that. And here we got 46.87. That's 10 pips away from that, from 46.97. So I would definitely take a note of that. So here I got bolded a few different levels here that I think should be should pay very close attention to. Let's take a look at our chart now. We're at 44.98. So 45.71. Well, we got a ways to go, but I would definitely expect that by the time we get to 45.71, this area right here, I think we could definitely expect some type of a reaction. There's no question about it. Okay. Let's go back to the spreadsheet. Now, we could also take these levels here that we bolded here, and we could try to overlap them with other levels on higher time frames, like 42.64. Do we have anything here that's close to 42.64? Yeah, right here, 42.87. 42.71 is the central pivot point on the central weekly pivot point. So, you know, that's very important. So here, 42.64, that's a very powerful area of support. So there's a very good chance that if price was close to this level, if it hit this level, there's no question about it, there would have to be some type of a bounce, some type of a reaction. Alright, anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. We've now established how you could use pivot points along with Fibots to determine what pivot areas are going to have the highest impact, the highest reaction. That's why Fibots are very important. So you're not going to use the Fibots by themselves. Okay, you're not going to look at these and trade off of these numbers by themselves, but you will trade off of the pivot points that coincide with the Fibots. Okay, and you're going to start out with the higher time frames, and you're going to work your way to the lower time frames, and then after you have a series of numbers bolded over multiple time frames, then you'll find the ones that are closest to each other, and those are going to be the ones that you're going to watch out for. Of course, like I said, you don't want to concentrate on, say, something like that's 1.4823 when price right now is at 1.45. You only want to really concern yourself with areas that are very close to where price is right now. You know what? Let me give you another example here. Price right now is at 45.03. So let's look at the 4-hour pivot point, because that's in the 4500s. We're at 45.08 is the central pivot point. 4500 is the M2. So if we go over here to the 4-hour, what we would do is we'd look for things that are very close to 4500. I mean, within a few pips. Well, let's go. I don't see anything here that's close to 4500, except for maybe 44.84. That's like a 16 pip difference. I guess we could go ahead and bold that. Let's go to 44.92. $44.84 here, so this could be a very important area. 44.83, 44.78, that could be an important area. Anyway, these are all going to be very important areas because they're very close to the Fibots. Let's see, where's price at again? Price is at 45.05. And right here, I figure that 4,500 would be an important area. So let's see what's happening here at 4,500. Oh, it's interesting, because if you'll notice, a couple of these 15-minute candles precisely touched 1.4500 and then bounced right off. So 1.4500 is obviously kind of important in the last hour.
and I'm not. That's not hindsight. That's not hindsight. I mean, I took that based on what I just saw on the spreadsheet. Now let's do this. Let's look at something that a price level that we haven't gotten to yet. 45.08. Anything here close to? Let's see, 45.17. 45.26. Well, here we got 45.32. So that's within a few pips. So I would say 45.26 would be an important area, and also 45.34 might be an important area because of this. 45.32. Let's just say 45.34. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll take this line. I'll take 45.34. I'll go over here to my chart, and I'll set a line here at 45.34. And I'm going to color that chart, that line red. Red meaning that price could hit that and fall down a little bit. And I'm going to pause this video for just, actually I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to produce this and upload it. I'm going to start part 2. And then I'm going to explain the next element to my system, which would be the fibs up and the fib down chart. Fibs up, fibs down. I'll be right back.